Want to start sewing but overwhelmed by all of the things you think you need and all of their options? Well, I'm glad you're here because today I'm going to share a list of essential items that you're going to need to get started on your sewing journey. Hey y'all, I'm withlaurenmellany, busy mama to 3 littles and sewist in my spare time. Today I'm going to share a list of the essential tools you'll need in your sewing kit to get started. And I know that walking into a fabric or sewing center can be very overwhelming and you don't even know what you're looking for most of the time. But really, you don't need much. First and foremost, you're going to need to start with a sewing machine. Right now I'm sewing on an what is it? And right now I'm sewing on the Brother NS80E. It's a computerized sewing machine, so you turn it on and there's a whole bunch of different stitches. This one has like over 80, but you really don't need all of that. You need something that has a straight stitch, a zigzag stitch, and preferably a buttonhole stitch as well. Next up, we have thread, and this is what's going to join all of your fabric together and keep it together after you use, wear, and wash your garment or project. So you want to find a brand that's very sturdy and won't snap on you, and something that doesn't produce too much lint. All of that lint can get stuck in the machine and it can be costly to repair if there's a lot of buildup in there. There are several trusty brands, but my go-to is Gutermann. It's highly accessible, so you can find them at most fabric stores. It comes in a variety of colors to fit any type of project that you may be doing, and it's high quality and very affordable. This next one is super important, and I'm talking about scissors. And y'all, if you're going to invest in anything on this list other than your sewing machine, I'm going to say to find yourself a good pair of fabric scissors. And then once you find your fabric scissors, guard them with your life because you don't want them to be used on anything other than fabric. Having a great pair of fabric scissors can make or break your project and your sewing experience. You want your scissors to be super sharp, so if you use it on something other than fabric, like paper or plastic or twine, it can easily dull your scissors and you're gonna have to get them resharpened or just buy a whole new pair. I'm currently going back and forth between 2 pairs of scissors, and it's really whichever one is closest to me. So this is Kai brand scissors made in Japan. I've had this one since college. I think I've only had to sharpen it a couple of times and I used it all through my fashion degree. So they stay really sharp, it's very lightweight, and it also has an angled handle. I also use the Ginger brand, and this one is more popular. You can find this brand in a lot of fabric stores. This one that I have is quite heavy, but it's still very sharp. It has an angled handle right here, which makes it a lot easier on my hands whenever I am cutting. It's available in a lot of different sizes and different types of scissors, so just find the one that works best for you. You're also going to be cutting your thread after you sew each seam, and you are more than welcome to use your fabric scissors to do that. Or you can get these things called thread snippers. There's a variety of different thread snippers, and you'll find the one that works best for you. Your sewing machine is typically going to come with something that looks like this. It's just a small pair of scissors. It doesn't stay very sharp very long, so I keep it just in case of emergencies, but it's not my primary thread cutter. This one has a spring in it, so whenever you close it, it's going to automatically open up. This one has been my favorite and my go-to for all my current projects. It doesn't have a spring, so it's a lot easier to close. I guess it's like a tension thing. I don't really know the right words, but it's a lot easier on my hand, and my hand doesn't get as tired because you're going to be snipping a whole bunch of thread while you're sewing. If you have found value in anything that I've already talked about, go ahead and hit that like button. There's still plenty more to come. I also made a PDF file of all of these things in the link below, so you can go ahead and print it out and bring the entire list with you to the store while you shop. But anyway, let's get back to your essentials list. So these little babies are like little tiny hands that keep everything where they're supposed to be before you actually start sewing. We have the classic with the ball. I feel like a beauty blogger, except I don't know how to do this. So it has a little ball at the top, and these work fine. I personally prefer to use the flat head, flat pin, and these are flat right here. Oh, can you see it right there? I like these because whenever you're using them, it's not going to skew your fabric or your pattern where the round ones can. If you're gonna have like a cajillion pins, you need pin cushions, and they come in a variety of different styles as well. So this one is the classic one. It's the tomato, and it has a little strawberry. This strawberry can be used to sharpen your pins, like so. Or you have the magnetic pin cushion, which I guess is really not a cushion, but this one is what I prefer. It has a really strong magnet inside. This one is really convenient. So you're gonna drop your pins, it's inevitable. You'll drop your pin cushion and all your pins will go flying, or somebody like your kids may get to your pins and throw them all over the floor. So you'll just take your magnet, you'll sweep it across the area where your pins are at, and it'll be like, it'll suck up all of your pins right here, and you're not sitting there picking them up individually. I have a love-hate relationship with the seam ripper. I love it because it'll get the job done. I hate it because when I have to use it, that means I made a mistake and it's just annoying. But there's different types of seam rippers as well. And I have 3 of them right here. The first one, just like the thread snippers, it usually comes with your sewing machine. So it'll come closed like this. And then you'll open it up and you'll put the cap at the bottom, and then you have like a little handle right here. So this is very basic. It will get the job done. I only keep it for emergencies if I can't find something else. The problem with these is that it doesn't stay very sharp, and because the handle is so small and thin, it can be very hard on your hands. So next up we have this straight shank. I had this when I was in college and it does the job. It's like only a couple dollars, so broke college student, I'm gonna get that one. They're a lot sharper, they stay sharper longer. The only thing I don't like about these is it really hurts my hand whenever I am actually using it. I've been using this one, and it's the Dritz Ergonomic Size Small, and it does just that. It is ergonomically better for your hand and your wrist. There's this little thing in the middle where your thumb and your finger just wrap around, and it's a lot easier on your hand, because usually whenever you're using the seam ripper, you're already frustrated and mad and you tend to grip it a lot harder than you should. So your hand is really tense and it's just this whole thing. So I would invest in a really good pair of seam ripper as well. Pair, it's not a pair, it's a seam ripper. It's a singular, it's just one seam ripper. Alright, so when you're sewing, you're going to be using patterns most of the time, or you're going to have to make a mark to give yourself some notes. And that's exactly why you need markers, pens, chalk, anything. There's a whole bunch on the market. There's going to be things that you prefer and you don't prefer. I'm going to start off with the stuff that work, but they're not my first pick. So we're going to talk about just the regular pencil. So they usually look like this, like a pencil. They come in white or blue. I personally don't like it because I found that these pencils are a little waxy. So whenever I'm marking my fabric, it's really hard to get an impression on there to see whatever I'm marking, and then you're warping the fabric and stretching it, and it's like, why? Why am I even doing this? Next, I have a pen. So this one will use ink. It disappears with water, so you can easily wash it off. It's not going to show up on your finished garment or project. I feel like these pens do the same thing that those other pencils do, so it's just not worth it to me. What I do love to use is Taylor's chalk, but not just like a piece of chalk, but it's actually the Choco liner. The chalk is in that reservoir. You can buy refills for the chalk as well whenever you run out. It has this little tiny wheel right here that rotates as you're using it. It's very sturdy, it's not going to break. It evenly dispenses the chalk as you're rolling it, and it's very precise. If you find that you made a mark that you didn't want to, you can go ahead and just dust it off really easily and then start over. But my absolute favorite marking tool is going to be the Pilot Friction Pen. It comes in a whole bunch of different colors. I like orange because it's obnoxious and I won't miss a mark that I make on my fabric. This pen makes really precise markings, which is exactly what you need whenever you're transferring stuff from your patterns onto your fabric. It's also erasable, so all you have to do if you make a mistake is take an iron, put the heat on it, and it automatically disappears. Or if you found that you erased the wrong mark, you can go ahead and pop it back in the freezer and the mark will reappear again. So it's very versatile, very precise, and I absolutely love this option. You're absolutely going to need an iron and an ironing board, or a wool mat, which is what I've been using. Whenever you sew a seam, you're going to go press it. And pressing is different than ironing, but we'll talk about that in a later video. Right now, you just need to make sure you have one of these. It doesn't need to be a small one or a quilter's one. It just needs to be an iron with a steam function. Your household iron will be absolutely fine. And if you're going to iron, you need a surface to iron on. So you can totally use your ironing board that you have at home. Or you can go ahead and get a wool mat, which is what I've been using. And they come in a variety of sizes. I have the small, and I also have a larger one for bigger projects. They're very portable. They're made from wool, so the wool will absorb the heat from the iron on top of the fabric and then apply the heat on the bottom. And there's a whole bunch of different uses, but we'll get into that later. You just need an iron and an ironing surface. Mom brain is real, y'all. I stopped recording, took a shower, and then realized I didn't even talk about measuring tools, so you're definitely gonna need a couple of these. This is called a seam gauge. It's going to measure the distance of your seam allowance, which is the edge of the fabric to where your actual seam is. There's this little slider that you can slide back and forth to whatever point you need, and it's a really great tool to have right next to you. And don't forget to grab the classic measuring tape. So that's it. Not bad, right? You really don't need that much to get started. And as far as the varieties, you'll find the one that works best for you. If you found this list helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss all the valuable content coming your way. Just